Hello, everyone. Welcome to Spiritism at Noon. Today, we are going to be continuing our studies in relation to this book, A Full Life by the Spirit Joanna de Angelis, through the psychography of Divaldo Franco. And we are going to be studying chapter 8 that talks about the mental landscape. As we always like to remind everyone, every chapter is a different brings about a different subject. So if you're just tuning in today, be sure to check the other episodes, but you will be able to follow everything that we are talking about. So before I start, I'm going to share the screen with you so we can follow with the reading as well of the chapter. And I'm going to ask our dear friend and collaborator, Philip, to read it to us. Oh, just a second. I lost everything here from the screen. Just to read to us the chapter. Okay. Can you start reading?
The mental landscape. They are embedded in every mind, thought, word, and action. Human beings' mental landscapes are the product of their reflections and interests. Everything that attracts them permeates their minds and becomes an integral part of their patrimony, which will be opportunely used when the circumstances so require. Therefore, the mental life is the sum of all physical constructions, which in turn continue to give rise to achievements and activities during an individual's evolutionary process. Consequently, individuals live in the psychical setting where their ideas are stored. They are the natural result of the habits maintained during the physical journey.
So let's stop here now.
Okay.
Okay, so in this chapter, Joanna de Angelis is going to talk to us about something that is very important. It's about the way we think, how we attune or our minds with things, occurrences that are happening in our world, and also analyzing what really catches our attention. So there is one thing that we have to pay attention to, that everything that we bring to our mind, that we bring to our attention, or that we exalt in terms of, the kind of thoughts we are having, are going to be part of what we are and what we are giving to the world. So it's something that she will bring to our attention in this chapter, that we have to be very careful, very mindful in relation to what kind of thoughts and emotions we are tuning in, and understanding our responsibility in terms of everything that we do, including our thoughts. So if you have any questions or any comment that you would like to add, or we can continue then reading. So
Every thought recorded by the mind relieves a significant mark. The succession of this occurrence becomes a seed for timely reproduction due to the automatism of the electronic equipment that constitute the chips that record everything that happens. Our lives are therefore the product of mental adjustments.
I think I'm going to stop here because this paragraph is actually so interesting. Uh, you see, this is one thing that we have to think about. Everything that we do, that we think about, is recorded. Today, of course, with the technological advancements, it becomes very easy for us to kind of understand, like, we have all those small machines that are able to store so much data, right? We have all of that as well, considering us as being immortal spirits. So everything is recorded. Of course, maybe there are things that are not constantly be brought to mind because they were minor events, but even so, they are there. They are there on the back of our minds, let's say, of our spirit. So it's the for this reason that she's calling us our attention, that we have to have responsibility with our thoughts. Okay, let's go on.
Jesus said very beautifully that for where your treasure is, there will your heart be also. In other words, wherever your ideas are, there will be your reality, the being that you are. His gospel, presented as the preventive therapy for the troubles of physical existence, offers the active, kind, and intensive sowing of nourishing fruit. Edifying examples appear on every page, even when they initially seem to be adverse. Its guidelines will ensure results corresponding to its substance. Thus, do not be surprised by pessimism, panic, insecurity when confronted by the tests of the human existence set for plenitude. In individuals whose minds are unaccustomed to engaging in positive reflection and the cultivation of uplifting ideas, it will be their initial reaction to everyday occurrences.
Okay, so by mentioning this teaching by Jesus, for where your treasure is, there will your heart be as well, as a reference to all the actions, all the thoughts that they belong to us. They are our our rich, so to say, our treasure, as Jesus explained here. And by the cultivation of what we are doing, in terms of thoughts and actions, we can measure, right, the value or the moral value of a person. So when we look and analyze at the gospel, as she says here, it can be a very important preventive therapy for us, to help us, to guide us in not getting lost um, in our ways, because sometimes, when we are here in the material life, we tend too much to just think of what is around, not measuring too much about the word of energy, the word of the spirit. And sometimes we even given ourselves to negative emotions, like she mentions, pessimism, panic, insecurity, and become more difficult for us to go into this path of plenitude. So here is where she's saying we have to go to a new way of living, of guiding ourselves, which is to engage in more positive reflections, in cultivating uplifting ideas, like she says. And it's something that we have to train, because our first reactions are always, the ones that we see the negative in everything. And sometimes because of that, we miss so much of what is positive. So if you want to do any comment, otherwise we can go ahead. Yeah, look.
No comment at the moment. Eliminate the habit of negative judgments, particularly when observing bad tendencies. There are reasons that escape the hasty observer, causes that make each person specific or special. Let us understand that there is another side to every human being, a side that is perhaps dark, just like a mirror. The truth is that nobody likes to inspire an antipathy, or discord. And if by any chance they act as if they do, they ate in the grip, they are in the grip of a hidden, cruel, and destabilizing conflict. Choose your best thoughts, even in extremely dangerous or difficult situations. We live in a universe of unalterable laws that obey inflexible automatisms. If you think good thoughts in the context of a bad situation, the mental atmosphere becomes clearer and therefore more favorable to producing an unexpected result.
Okay, let's stop here. So, um, as always, and we always like to mention that Joanna de Angelis brings and she presents the problem. She presents the situation that is actually getting in the way of us finding peace, find harmony and happiness, and how damaging they can actually be in our day-to-day life. Like she mentioned in the last paragraph, things about our negative emotions and how they can get in the way. Then uh she she presents us with ways of doing it. So now, once you recognize that there is an area that needs to be receiving some attention and that we need to do something about it, she comes and brings us, uh, um, some tips, so to say, and how you can do that. So the one of the things that she mentioned here is for us to eliminate the habit of negative judgments. We are always judging people, and the thing is, mm, yeah, sometimes we may say they are in the wrong, but we don't know from where did they come from in terms of what is leading them to act in the way that they are acting now. It's not that we are trying to find an excuse, but we are trying to find a reason. We are trying to look at it with a different perspective, not only just criticizing, but saying, how can a person be affectionate? An affectionate person if is a person that has never received affection in his or her life. So we cannot give what we do not know. I remember once I was attending uh, some conferences about nonprofit organizations, and one of the organizations that were presenting the work was a psychologist, and she was talking that the aim of the organization that she was part of was to in a certain country to go to areas where they would teach children to be children and adults to be adults. And I remember that I opened my eyes like this big and thinking, what's she talking about? Why do we need to teach adults, mothers to be mothers and children to be children? And then she explained that in this particular community, the way they are brought about is the following. When you are a child, you learn to be a beggar in the streets, on the streets. And then, you are the one that is going to be a provider. So you have you up to a certain age, because you inspire more, um, care in the sights of others. Then you go to the streets and you have to, to fend for yourselves and get the money and bring the whole money home. And the mothers, the parent, especially the mothers in this case, they are in what it is called their retiring years. So now you are the provider, and I'm just here. I'm going to be, taking care of the house, cooking, but you are the one that is the provider. So and it's generations that have been coming with the same dynamic of, the children are the ones that go to the street and are the providers, and the mothers that stay at home and, I mean, just do the cooking. So they don't know what it is to be children, what it is to, to attend schools, to receive education, to have time to play, all those things. and the mothers do not know how to be exactly mothers. So you see, those are and how, what can we say of a person that comes from this kind of dynamic, if they have different perspectives on life. So this is why we have to avoid any kind of negative judgment. But we understand that there is always good in a person by the simple fact that we are all children of God. Of course, we may hide, we may not give place for this goodness to shine, to come about, but it's important for us, even on an individual level, to believe in ourselves, to know that we are worth, that we try to maintain in ourselves the best thoughts that we can, and and cleanse our mental atmosphere. By doing that, we are also going to be contributing to the cleansing of the atmosphere of our planet. Any comments or questions?
It's interesting to have this perspective, because there are things that happen in life that really perplex us, especially when they're negative. And putting a positive spin on what has happened to the people who are doing it helps us respond positively.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I'm going to keep in my mind.
Yeah, that's true, because otherwise we will be another person that is only going to be bringing aggravation, right, or aggression to this person without realizing, again, it's not to justify, oh, because it didn't have this kind of, education or learning in the early days of their lives, if teenager years, etc. You are allowed to act like this. It's not allowing, being accepting, but understanding and saying, you know what, you never learn better, so let me contribute, because at least I can say this is not right, but I understand that you have never known what was right, but you can learn, and I can contribute to that. It's a completely different way of seeing a situation and of looking at people. Even, sometimes, I mean, it's not that I have a bad day, I can go outside and just, throw all of my burden into the world. But sometimes, we don't know. People are going through that, through really difficult stuff, and we want them to be, smiling and completely gentle. Sometimes it's not possible. I remember that when I had, I used to work in an office, and sometimes, you all have our difficult days. I would go to the office and say, pretend I'm not here today, okay? Because otherwise I cannot be responsible for how I'm going to be acting. Okay, at least it's something. I will not be engaging, and the people will know that has nothing to do with them, because sometimes we think it's so personal. Oh, the person didn't say hello, was not nice to me today. It's because of me or something. No, that have nothing to do with you. It's only me, and just pretend I'm not here. Right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, let's go on.
Strive to be kind to all, for as the popular saying goes, kindness begets kindness. Never lose sight of the idea of succeeding, even in disastrous situations. If the outcome is not positive, the lesson will be extremely valuable. The swamp is not aware of its putrid stench. The thicket is not aware of the harm it creates. The plague is not aware of the lives it takes. So drain the stagnant waters and help them move. Pull out the weeds and clear the bush that hides dangerous snakes and spiders, and transform the land into a beautiful garden. Be aware of pestilence, and your body will stay healthy. Life is a permanent invitation to act constructively. Take care of your mental garden.
Okay, so uh and she goes on and saying, just be kind, uh, be in your best behavior, not because of others necessarily, but because of yourself, because fake it till you make it. Right, sometimes we'll have to be thinking more about the rules of society. But when we say, we see the reactions of what, uh, how being nice or kind, like she says here, kindness begets kindness, we will start um, assuming this posture of being positive, of being kind in a more natural way. And sometimes, like she says here, using the example of the thicket, the swamp, the plague, it's not that they are doing things on purpose uh, uh, to harm deliberately people, but they happen. And so what should we do? We should be there and contributing to eradicate those things. But eradicating is not just by pointing our fingers, but by criticizing, by not being tolerant, but by help them to become areas of good construct, and then we can go on and following in this different path that is still not necessarily part of our lives. So we can continue now reading.
Good conversation are wonderful tools to construct the good. Words carry vibrations in accordance with their inherent tone. It is not always the sound of the word, but the release of its moral content that matters. Because you cannot live without thinking, get in the habit of pondering on the beauties of life. A flower in bloom, a drop of water, the delicate scent of the wind as it kisses the rose bushes, the simple things in nature. Complex issues require minds that know how to elaborate projects and solve enigmas. Cultivate simplicity and care for what is fragile and disregarded. Smile at the sight of the dawn colored by the light of the sun or the fiery dusk. Look at vegetation growing in the crack of a rock where only a particle of pollen fell, manifesting the power of life. Stop to examine a grain of sand reflecting the light, or a firefly glowing in the dark, and you will discover the marvelous nature of life manifesting in 1,000 surprising and fascinating ways. Think about God by examining God's work. When you are dazzled by a hummingbird hovering in the air, a light and fluttering butterfly dancing in the wind, or a hard-working bee producing honey and unknowingly pollinating nature, consider that your mind is a garden capable of producing unimaginable beauty. Choose what you will plant in it, certain that you will reap as you have sowed. Jesus said categorically, to each according to his own deeds.
Can you read the rest as well, please?
Normally, the moment of discarnation releases the memory of our entire existence, especially what was more vigorously fixed in our minds through repetition. These fixations are our constant, unsound, daily thoughts. So, live in such a way that, upon discarnation, your memory will bless you with a beautiful harvest of elevated thoughts, propelling you to be happy from that moment onward.
So, following her directions, in first analyzing what is the matter, how important it is for us to pay attention to our thoughts and our actions and what we are releasing into the world and accepting from the world. Because sometimes, truth be told, the world throws so much garbage at us and we embrace it. It's up to us not to do that. Being more selective in places that we are going to be attending, in what we are watching on TV, in conversations that we are going to be engaging. If we have some colleagues that all of a sudden are always just talking about negative things and um, gossip and malice in relation to other people, we are going to be enveloped in the same kind of vibrations that they are putting out in the world. It's going to contaminate us. Sometimes I think that this example is easy for us to imagine. If you go into a place, in a room that will have 20 people and 15 people there are smoking, right? Smoking cigarettes. And there is no way that you are there being one of these 5 people that is not going to be contaminated by that. I'm not just talking about the air that you are inhaling that comes with the smoke of others as well, but when you leave this room, you're going to be smelling cigarettes, even if you didn't smoke. So it's the same thing when I am participating in conversations where people are just throwing, negative comments and gossip and malice and all of that, even if I'm not saying anything. There is no way, in terms of energy speaking, energy wise, that I'm not going to leave that place with the same kind of stain that they were exhaling during this situation. So this is why we have to choose carefully our companies. We have to be able to appreciate the good things that we have in life, not just saying, oh my God, the day today is horrible. Why is horrible? Because it's raining, because it's nourishing the land, it's propitiating the crops to grow and to give us more food, and to uh, give the nutrition to planet Earth, to cleanse the air. So we have to start looking at things from a different perspective and value each one of them, and remembering always that we will be receiving and we will be enveloped by the same energy that we are putting forward. And then let us remember, and she finishes this by saying that upon our death, we are going to be uh, more capable of us accessing our entire existence, and there will be times that we will see that we have fixated our ideas, our thoughts so much in things that were not productive, not good, and this is going to be damaging to us. So now she's saying, you are alive, you are in control, you are receiving this education, this understanding that before maybe was not at your reach, but now you know that everything that you think will have an impact on yourself. So this is the invitation that she brings to us, so that we can live in a way that when it's time for us to return, we will remember, we will feel proud of ourselves, in the sense that I say, okay, there were moments I was not that okay, but I know I did my best. I tried and I succeeded so many times because I did try and I did understand that this wasn't the right way to behave. So these are the messages that we have from Joanna de Angelis today. And let's see if Philip has any comment or any question that you would like to ask us, Philip. Or...
Well, my comment is my morning has been just the opposite of your bright smile because of what has happened in the world as I traveled around. And I thank you very much for this opportunity because it makes me feel better, and the opportunity to read also helped. So I'm very grateful. Thank you very, very much.
Philip, thank you so much, and thank you for reading for us today. It was so special, and we will continue with our studies next week.